Hey, what's up gentlemen and ladies? Now before I get started with today's video, I just wanted to say happy Independence Day to all of my American viewers. I hope that you have fun with, all the fireworks and grilling and stuff.
Show me some motherfucking fireworks!
Celebrating our independence from England and, Scotland, Northern Ireland, London. It's not too late to join the club. But in all seriousness, guys, history is very important to celebrate and remember as it gives us the world that we live in today. And I thought that I would use this really shitty excuse to make a video on the geography of Final Fantasy 15 because why not, am I right? So, without further ado...
It's time to learn geography.
No!
Yeah, this video is going to be styled like a Geography Now episode. Awesome channel if you're a geography nerd like me, and full credit to them for all of the transitions that I use in this video. I did not make any of these myself, so I will leave a link to their channel in the description if you guys want to check them out. Now, the world of Final Fantasy 15 was just recently confirmed to be called Eos, and it's a world slightly connected to, but not necessarily a part of the Fabula Nova Crystallis mythos, likely created by the fal'Cie of Pulse and Lindsay, who, for those of you that don't know, are the creators of Final Fantasy XIII's Grand Pulse and Type 0's Orions. The land is composed of 4 primary city-states known as kingdoms: Lucis, Tenebrae, Accordo, and Solheim, as well as a rapidly growing empire named Niflheim. And speaking of Niflheim, let's discuss the flag. Now, sorry for the bad quality picture, guys, but as of now, we've only really seen the flag being carried by soldiers, so we don't have a good scan of what it actually looks like. But basically, the flag is a white field with a red stripe going through it diagonally, and on top of that sits a golden dragon type of creature in front, which possibly represents Niflheim's guardian. Now, as for the names for all of these nations, the Kingdom of Lucis means the word light in Latin, and it is tradition for the monarchs to have Lucis be their middle name. Tenebrae means darkness, so literally quite the exact opposite of Lucis. Accordo means to be in agreement with in Italian, which makes sense considering the Italian influence on the city. And Solheim's name is actually in 2 languages, Sol being Latin for the sun, and Heim being German for home, so home of the sun. Finally, Niflheim is Old Norse for home of the mist and is actually named after one of the 9 worlds in Norse mythology, particularly the one that represents Hell. The name kind of makes sense considering how Niflheim's been acting, especially towards the other kingdoms recently, which we will discuss in... So Niflheim has actually been expanding a lot in the past recent years leading up to the game's beginning during the war. We know that by the time Noctis leaves Insomnia, Niflheim has already taken control of the Kingdom of Tenebrae, where Luna is from, although apparently they still have some form of autonomy. We're not really sure how it all works. As we all know, they invade Lucis' capital, Insomnia, towards the beginning of the game, which we get to see more of in the Kingsglaive movie, and we see a short of them possibly also invading Accordo's capital, Altissia. Now, in terms of politics and leaders, Lucis, as far as we know, is an absolute monarchy, currently ruled by Regis Lucis Callum the 113th, and will be replaced by his son Noctis when he passes away. The other 3 kingdoms we can assume have similar governing styles, but nothing's been confirmed so far. As for Niflheim, it's more military than country, and it's currently under Emperor Idolus Aldracapt, although ironically, unlike the other nations, it's more of a constitutional monarchy than anything. I know, pretty weird, right? Its head of government is actually Chancellor Ardyn Izunia, who is presumably the main villain of Final Fantasy 15, and he is basically in charge of the governors, which includes Verstil, lead researcher. You will know him as the guy who created the Magitech infantry, the throwaway enemies of Final Fantasy 15, which are led by their captains, one of which being Aurania Highwind, and on top of all of the captains is General Glauca. Under him, Niflheim has taken control of most of their current land, basically dominating Eos, leaving only Solheim that we know of so far, and land not owned by any particular kingdom, which there is actually quite a bit of, so let's take a look at all of these regions, shall we? Now, it's unclear right now, but it has been hinted that the 4 primary kingdoms only actually consist of their capital cities and small surrounding areas around them. But that being said, the 2 capitals that we've seen so far, Insomnia for Lucis and Altissia for Accordo, are very industrialized cities, one based on Tokyo, Japan, with huge skyscrapers and busy streets, and the other based on Venice, Italy, with rivers and lakes connecting everything and being the primary form of transportation. But that is far from all that Eos has to offer. Although still unnamed, Tenebrae's capital has been shown off, and it's a very cool kind of castle on rocks sort of theme to it that looks fun as hell to explore. We've also seen Kame, a location right next to the ocean and forest where we'll be able to explore and use the boat. Lead, which is the game's starting area, which is mostly desert, and is just around the walls of Insomnia where your car will break down and you'll need to get it fixed, similar to the story of episode Duscae. And speaking of which, the Duscae region is a vast open wide field where we find Ramuh and fight the behemoth, and close to it is the city of Lestallum, our primary city for the majority of the game. It's actually based off of real-world Cuba, which is pretty cool, and you'll basically be able to go here to buy items, sleep if you need to, etc. And fun fact about it, it's actually all powered by energy that comes from a meteor that crashed on that spot where the city was eventually built on. And that is one of those cities that, like I mentioned, just kind of operates on its own and doesn't really belong to any kingdom for now. If Niflheim takes the town, then it'll mean bad news for Lestallum and their relations with the other nations, which we will talk about more in... Now, in terms of Eos, Lucis is definitely the popular guy that everybody wants to be friends with. As far as we know, they have good relations with both Tenebrae and Altissia, as our party, which includes the Prince of Lucis, often visits Altissia throughout the entire game, and also the fact that he's getting married to a very highly regarded oracle from Tenebrae, Luna. Back to Altissia though, its capital city Accordo really seems like the Paris of Eos. Not only do they generally get along with everyone, but on top of that, they have the breathtaking scenery and architecture. We know that artists and musicians often come to live here, and it's the home to some very famous paintings, and on top of that, it's the city where Prince Noctis' wedding was said to take place, so it's gotta be a big city if other kingdoms' princes come here to get married. Solheim, on the other hand, is really the one kingdom that we know the least about. In fact, we've never actually gotten to see the nation itself, or at least not knowing that it was Solheim, but the name, once again, which means home of the sun, really just kind of makes me think that it's either primarily desert or a very steampunk-esque kingdom with a lot of machinery that focuses on manufacturing, and possibly where Niflheim gets their robot infantry and weapons from. Check out my Solheim theory video for that. And though it's unclear where they're from, we know thanks to Kingsglaive that Insomnia sees many immigrants from outside of Lucis, seeing as how the entire glaive is made up of non-Lucians and they all work directly under the king. And there you guys have it, a basic explanation of the geography, politics, regions, and people of Final Fantasy XV. Once again, shout out to Geography Now for all the transitions used in this video, they belong to them, and yeah. With that, I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to blitz that like button, subscribe, and as always, stay tuned for all things Final Fantasy. See you guys.